All right, let's jump right in. We're looking at a classic poem today, but I really want you to forget about this being some dusty piece of literature. Instead, think of it as a timeless guide for finding and, bottling up happiness. It's all about how one simple, ordinary walk unlocked a joy that could last a lifetime.
So it all kicks off with one of the most famous opening lines in history. I wandered lonely as a cloud. I mean, just listen to that. It instantly paints this picture of quiet, almost weightless solitude, right? You can really feel that sense of just drifting without any real purpose, kind of looking down on the world from way up high.
And what's so important here is the speaker's state of mind at the beginning. He's not just by himself. He feels as disconnected and directionless as a single cloud in this huge, empty sky. Now, this isn't necessarily a sad feeling, but it is a feeling of isolation, a sort of blank slate that, let's be honest, we've all probably felt at some point. So, that's our starting point.
But then, everything shifts. Right in the middle of this aimless wandering, something totally unexpected happens. This ordinary walk is about to become an absolutely extraordinary encounter, one that's going to change his inner world for good.
And all of a sudden, he sees them. Now you have to notice the words he picks here. This isn't just a patch of flowers. No, it's a crowd, a host. And they're not just sitting there, they are actively dancing in the breeze. He immediately gives them this incredible life and personality. They're not just plants anymore, they're this vibrant, living company.
And the scale of it all is just mind-blowing. He glances over and guesses he saw 10,000 at once. Now, was it literally 10,000? I mean, who knows, right? But what's so powerful about that number is the feeling it gives you, the sense of an overwhelming, unforgettable sea of brilliant color and movement.
And it's not like the rest of the scenery was ugly. The lake itself was beautiful. The waves were sparkling and dancing in the sun. But the poet makes this really cool comparison. He says the daffodils actually outdid the sparkling waves in glee. Their happiness was just so active, so infectious, that they created this laughing company. And how could you not be happy in company like that?
So he's completely captivated. But the real magic of this whole thing isn't just what he felt standing there. It's what he took away from it, a gift he didn't even know he was getting at the time. And that brings us to the show's true wealth. This line perfectly captures his mindset in that moment. He was so mesmerized by what he saw, he gazed and gazed, that he wasn't thinking, he wasn't analyzing. He was just absorbing it all. He had no clue that this simple view of some flowers would become one of the most valuable things he'd ever own.
So that leads us to the big question of the poem. When he says the sight brought him wealth, what is he actually talking about? Obviously, it's not cash. So what kind of riches can a field of flowers possibly give someone?
Well, the wealth he's talking about is this: a powerful, happy memory perfectly saved and stored away in his mind. It's an inner treasure. And unlike money, this is the kind of wealth that never disappears. Actually, it gets even more valuable as time goes on, becoming this emotional bank he can draw from whenever he needs to.
And this brings us to the final, and I think the most powerful part of the whole poem. This is where we find out how he cashes in on that inner wealth. It's the big payoff, showing us how a memory can become this permanent source of happiness long after the real moment is over.
So, when does this memory pop up? It's not when he's busy or distracted. It happens later, when he's just lying on his couch, his mind either empty or maybe just drifting in thought, what he calls a vacant or in pensive mood. It's in those quiet, unfiltered moments that the memory has room to come to the surface. I think we've all been there, right?
The poem then lays out this beautiful, almost four-step guide to how this inner joy works. First, you're in that quiet, thoughtful state. Second, that image of the daffodils suddenly flashes upon that inward eye, your imagination. Third, the feeling rushes in right after the image and your heart with pleasure fills. And finally, your whole spirit just lifts and it dances with the daffodils right there from your couch.
This line, this is the whole point of the poem's transformation, right here. That inward eye is what he calls the bliss of solitude. I mean, just think about that for a second. At the start of the poem, he was lonely. But by the end, being alone is a bliss. It's not about being lonely anymore. It's about having the quiet space you need to access all that joy you've got stored away inside.
So what's the big takeaway here? Well, the poem shows us that a powerful moment in nature can become a permanent fixture in our minds. That memory is a kind of inner wealth we can always count on. In those quiet moments when we're alone, they're not empty, they're opportunities. A single, fleeting moment of beauty, if you really take it in, can turn into a source of happiness for your entire life.
So, I guess I'll just leave you with this question to think about. What's the memory that flashes on your inward eye? What's that fleeting moment from your own life that's become a lasting source of inner wealth? What's your host of Daffodils?